today's episode, you will see crocs eating each other, the skull of Bigfoot, a young boy fighting off a bear, a ghost that has driven many people mad, and many more. So sit back, relax, and get ready to witness the most breathtaking and jaw-dropping trail cam footage and wildlife footage. Let's get into the captures. He set up his camera looking to show off his biking skills to the rest of the world. What he didn't know was it was gonna end up showing the world something else. A desperate attempt to survive the wild he'd come to love and enjoy. If you look at the footage carefully, you'll see the rider right past the camera. What was not expected, however, was that he returns a few seconds later pushing his bike. Had something happened when he went out of frame? We wouldn't have to wait long to find out. As he nervously looks behind him, we see him making noises to scare someone or something off. And we don't have to wait long to find out that what comes into frame is something very frightening. It's a bear. He runs, but he doesn't retreat. Clearly, this isn't the first time he's been taught what to do when he sees a bear. He raises his bike to make himself look bigger and hits it on the ground several times to scare the predator off. The bear retreats, but still looks very interested in the young lad. The camera goes dark, but we hear the bear in the background. Did he get the boy? Well, we don't hear a scream, so that's gotta be a good sign. And he did send this video in, which is clearly a better sign. So clearly he did live, but it's obvious that what happened was very frightening. You have to be either powerful or very stupid to attack a lion. But believe me when I tell you that this hippo is far from stupid. Its jaws would have done a great deal of damage to those lions had they not moved out of the way. There are fewer creatures more vicious than a hippo in the wild. The lion may be the king of the jungle, but not on the hippo's turf. It just doesn't work like that. The hippo is one of the most territorial and aggressive animals in the wild. It gets more dangerous when it's in its own waters. The lions learned this the hard way as one was almost caught in its jaws, but fortunately escaped. The other two also managed to make it to the banks of the river. Whatever you do, never invade the space of a hippo. If lions have no chance, you haven't got the slightest chance either.
Do you see that? Do you see that?
Why is it always the woods? Why are we seeing them more often now? What are they doing out during the day? At this point, these mystical creatures might as well be parading on our streets because it looks like they don't care about being seen in the woods anymore. If you look carefully in this footage, you can see a dark mass moving from one tree to another as though he were looking for someone or something. A part of me feels, however, he sees the men there and is plotting what to do with them. It's clearly not afraid of them and doesn't feel threatened to hide. Unless, of course, it's blind, which may explain why it's holding on to a tree as it moves from one to the other. But I doubt this is the case. Clearly, it's sizing up the cameramen who thought they were safe and hidden. But notice how much bigger and taller it is than your everyday human. Its arms and legs are no joke either. Clearly, no human can win in a one-on-one match with any of these creatures. I know many don't believe in Bigfoot's existence, but based on available evidence, it's hard to deny the existence of this mystical creature. Did you see that? Did you see the woman appear and then disappear in the right portion of your screen? Well, that's at least what the man who shared this trail cam footage with us thought it was. If you inspect the footage carefully, it looks like a person fades in, stays with us for a couple of seconds, and then fades out again. When we zoom in, you can assume that the white part could be the face and the darker part below could be the body. Many believe that when a person dies, their soul still wanders on Earth for a while before they go to the afterlife. It's believed that wandering souls sometimes reveal themselves in subtle ways like this. Do you believe this could be a wandering soul revealing itself, or do you think that there is a more logical explanation? Let us know in the comments. This jogger was running on a mountain trail when he spotted a baby cougar, which may have seemed cute at first. However, he knew that where there are cubs, there are usually a protective mother lurking nearby. Sure enough, not long after he saw the cub, the mother cougar emerges from the bushes in the distance and begins sprinting towards him. Realizing the danger he was in, he immediately began a retreat. The cougar was, however, stalking him, ready to pounce any time she believed she had the right opportunity to do so. Despite being very afraid, the young man stood his ground and started to shout and wave his arms to make himself appear bigger than he actually was in an attempt to intimidate the predator. The cougar, however, was not deterred and continued to advance toward him. As the situation became more desperate, he started hurling rocks at the beast, which either lost interest, became scared, or remembered it had left its kids alone. Whatever the case was, the young man was thankful that he survived. Can I run from a bear by climbing up a tree? If you've ever wondered about this footage is your answer. It's a simple no. As large as black bears might be, climbing has never been a problem. Despite them being able to weigh up to 600 pounds when fully grown, climbing has never been a challenge. It's always incredible to see how effortlessly these massive beasts climb, and this particular footage is nothing short of spectacular, if I do say so myself. There's no telling what might have prompted that particular bear to climb up the tree while on an evening stroll, but we're sure glad that he did. At least it does inform and tell everyone watching this video never to go up a tree when being pursued by a bear. Still doubt bears can climb? Perhaps you should watch this video. Unlike the previous bear that was climbing up a tree, this particular one attempts to climb up a ladder, or a hunter's tree stand. But why? It had what can only be described as a rather malicious intent. It could see two humans up there, and you don't need to be a researcher to know it was thinking of lunch and dinner when it saw them. Thankfully, the hunters knew what to do and tried to establish dominance and scare the beast, which was only possible because they were safely on top of the tree. He succeeds in doing this, and the bear walks away, but occasionally looks back as though it were having second thoughts. This might not scare you, but I'll admit it did scare me. No matter how much you love the wild and nature, always make sure you respect the personal space of wild animals, even if you feel like petting or hugging them, especially if they're bears. If you've ever owned a house cat, you know how they love to claw furniture, but what happens in the wild when there's none? Well, they use trees. As annoying as it might be to see your cat do that to your furniture, it's instinctive and can't be helped. It's how they keep their claws sharp. If you're a cat that lies in the wild, your claws had better be sharp, and this bobcat knows it. The trail cam footage shows it sharpening its claws. Boy, are they sharp. Whatever you do, don't ever be at the receiving end of a claw attack from a bobcat. It won't end well. A bear is simply bigger, a more dangerous versions of dogs. Well, this trail cam video makes me think so. This trail cam footage is from the swamps in Florida right after it was hit by a thunderstorm. Not only did these bears survive, but they seem to be playing and enjoying moving on the makeshift bridge built by humans. Clearly, the cubs are nervous the first time they cross it, but Mama Bear isn't. Her composure encourages the cubs to cross the bridge, although very carefully. Perhaps they were simply scared the bridge couldn't hold their weight. But I'd be wary too if I saw a new bridge popping out of nowhere, especially if I didn't know if it was a bridge in the first place. The next day, the story is very different though. All bears, including those that were nervous and the ones that ran away across the bridge knowing it can support them and there was nothing to be afraid of. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen, because it's officially cuffing season in the animal kingdom. But unlike us humans who put on our best outfits and sprays to attract a mate, these wild animals have a more unique approach to wooing the opposite sex. This bobcat knows that the way to a lady's heart is through a sweet and sultry voice, so he's sharpened his vocal cords to perfection and wastes no time in showing it off. Clearly, someone wants to feel the love tonight. As the footage plays out, we see the bobcat continuing to call out, his cries echoing through the forest. It's clear he's been at it for a while, but he's not giving up anytime soon, at least not until he's seen his missus. It's a scene that reminds us of the unique and fascinating mating rituals of the animal kingdom, from birds that dance to impress their mates to lions that battle it out for the right to mate. These creatures will do whatever it takes to find love. So here's to any bobcat watching this video. We hope you find the mate of your dreams and that your calls are finally answered, because in the end, love truly does conquer all, even in the wild. What happens when you live in a location with no wildlife but hear strange animal sounds at night? What happens when you go to the woods and an ape-like creature uproots and throws a tree at you? What happens when a guest visiting your town, oblivious to these strange things, goes to the cemetery and sees a huge ape-like creature standing there? Well, whether you're a believer or not, you come to the same conclusion. The Sasquatch lives with you there. Think I'm being paranoid? Watch this footage from CTV News. Though there is no video or image, you can hear a bone-chilling cry coming from the woods. It sounds like no known animal in existence. The townspeople call it the Sasquatch, meaning wild man. They speak of stories of an ape-like creature that moves on both feet like a man, but much taller and hairier all over. Sound familiar? I'm sure it does. It's Bigfoot with a different name. The people on the island say that they hear the sound all the time. Some unbelievers have insisted that it was not possible and that it had to be an animal. But how do you explain that in a location with no animals? If that first video didn't make you a believer in Bigfoot, this is sure to get the job done. Get ready to believe, folks, because the evidence for Bigfoot just keeps piling up. And this time, it's not just a fleeting sighting caught on a trail cam. No, sir, it's something much more concrete. A researcher, aka Coyote Peterson, was wandering through a swamp in Canada when he stumbled upon a skull that may just be the ultimate proof of Bigfoot's existence. Now, this isn't your ordinary skull. It looks eerily similar to a human skull, but there's one big difference. Literally one big difference. It's way too big to be human. Based on the descriptions of Bigfoot we know and that we have, we're almost certain that Coyote Peterson is literally holding the skull of Bigfoot while thinking it was some wild animal. This trail cam footage shows a blue heron snatching a baby alligator from the river. This is a rare capture even for a trail cam video. This is something you'd expect from the National Geographic. The capture is both fascinating and heartbreaking. Watching this footage leaves me feel sorry for the baby gator wiggling between the heron's beak as it struggles to free itself from its captor. We can't fault the heron either. It's gotta eat. The wild is brutal, and everyone must do what they must do to survive. Anyone or anything that does less than that will not thrive. The circle of life may be unforgiving, but it's a necessary part of the balance in nature. Still on alligators, this trail cam video was probably the most conflicting of them all. It's both fascinating and heartbreaking to watch. At first glance, it looks like there's a beautiful, majestic alligator approaching. But as you keep watching, you can see that it's a trail cam footage of a heartbreaking scene. The crawling reptile, an alligator, appears to have a limp in its movements. As the animal gets closer, you realize that it's missing its right front leg. Could it have been born this way, or could something have happened to it? Something like what happened to this gator? I will leave the answer to your imagination. And you know there's no way we could end the video without even more footage of Bigfoot, right? This footage was captured on a camera set on the back of a dog by its owner as they were investigating a weird humanoid creature roaming the woods next to them. He didn't know what to expect, but nothing could have prepared him for this. After investigating for hours, the reported humanoid creature goes past the trees ahead of them. It was almost as though the creature had spotted them and wanted to leave before they got there. Perhaps it only wanted to be left alone. This man, however, had no intentions of doing so. He wanted to go after it, but his dog wouldn't move. It was frozen in its tracks. Perhaps it knew something the owner did not. Perhaps it had received some information the owner had not. Perhaps it had been told by the Bigfoot that following it would mean sudden death. Whatever the case, we may never know. But this frustrated the owner as the seconds he spent trying to get the dog to move were more than enough for the creature to escape. Was that Bigfoot, though? Many don't think so, but it's hard to deny evidence when it's right in front of you. If you were chilled by the previous footage, prepare to be even more amazed and perhaps even frightened by this one. This was captured in the snowy mountains of a ski resort in Spain. While many are scratching their heads and wondering what we could be looking at, those who took the footage believe they know what it is. The Yeti, the mythological cousin of Bigfoot. Zooming in on the footage, one can see that the creature shares many similarities with the legendary Yeti. For those unfamiliar with it, it's an ape-like creature that is said to reside in the Himalayan mountains. This footage was, however, captured in the snowy mountains of Spain, which is very far from where the Yeti is originally thought to reside. Could we have been looking at it all wrong, or did the Yeti simply migrate? Because that's clearly a Yeti. The footage looks very much like the descriptions of Yetis that have been passed down through many generations of Asian mythology. Features like its long, shaggy hair, oversized feet, and hulking size are all traits that have been attributed to Yetis over the years. But regardless of whether this is Bigfoot, a Yeti, or something else entirely, the footage serves as a haunting reminder of just how little we know about the natural world around us. The wilderness is full of mysteries and secrets that we may never fully understand, and this is just one of them. See you in the next one.